Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream. Make him the cutest that I've ever seen. Give him two lips like roses and clover, and tell him that his lonesome nights are over. Sandman, I'm so alone, don't have nobody to call my own. Please turn on your magic beam. Mr. Sandman, bring me a dream.
Good evening and welcome to Nox Mente. Tonight's guest is Ayme Frye. Amy's a musician, DJ, radio producer, novelist, and craniosacral therapist. She has studied with some of Chicago's finest musicians, including Kelan Phil Cohran, Hameed Drake, and Rockin Johnny Burgin, and has produced audio work for NPR, CHIRP Radio, and the Poetry Foundation. You can find her spinning tunes of all genres on Mondays, 9 to noon Chicago time on chirpradio.org, and her audio work and her music at soundcloud.com/superfry with an E. Welcome, Ayme. How are you tonight?
I'm doing okay.
Hey, Ayme.
Hey.
We're glad you made it. It seems like forever since we booked you. It's been a minute.
Been longer
Yeah,
than
it has.
Yeah.
Yeah, it has. And it seems like a whole
2 months.
million things happened between there.
I know. It's crazy. For me now, I'm just excited. Like when I look up and I see who's going to be on me, as we're booked so far out. So this is thrilling.
It's that temporal shift, you know.
Yes, that's the talk. And we all three have the Chicago connection. So there's a vibe already happening. We're bringing Chicago to the house tonight.
Nice. I like that.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So I think we'll just dive on in. All right. So I want to know about the landscape of the world you grew up in. What was going on? What were you around and all that? Tell us about the world you grew up in.
Well, I grew up in Glenview, Illinois. It was a beautiful tree-lined street with these beautiful elms that created this kind of cathedral of trees going down our street. It was kind of a famous little street. I grew up out there. I had 2 sisters and a brother, and we all hung out in Glenview, Illinois. Sorry, I'm not being very eloquent. I have to get into this streaming audio thing.
Glenview or Glendale? Or both?
Glenview. It's a suburb of Chicago. So I've been in the Chicagoland area for a long time.
No, you'd said Glendale where you grew up.
I said Glendale. I find
Yes.
that very strange. What a lunatic I am.
That's it. Cut the recording. We're done. Sorry.
Game over. Ayme, you failed. So really though, you were in the shadows of Chicago, which is a gigantic metropolis with, and the purposes of even knowing this is that actually plays a role in the unconscious as a collective symbol. It's big. It's like the ocean or the dark, or a forest. So it's important. Yeah. It's important to know these things.
No, I agree. Yeah. So I grew up, outside of Chicago, on a beautiful street, had a great time hanging out with my family. We were all raised Methodist. Uh-huh. And actually as a little kid, I was very into spirituality, and I was totally into Jesus. That's the way I would put it, but I thought he was really cool. But I remember I used to have these like moments in time, like I was like little, I was probably like 4, 5 or whatever it was, but I would be like, wow, what if God didn't create the world? What if there isn't a Jesus? What would that be like? Then what is this? Is it like somebody's dream? Am I in their dream? Are they in my dream? Like, it was this big thing, and it would transform my little kid reality into this super bizarre land of what is this thing? You know, because if you have a reason and it's like, oh, well, there's this story that, you know, God created the world and then this happened and that happened, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, great. But if you take that away, then it's like, what?
I like that you were already in that kind of fantasy mode.
What? I forgot what I was going to say now.
Right.
Sorry, I said fantasy.
No, it wasn't that. It was more, I was thinking more along the lines of, it's sad that that would be the entirety of your existence. You know, that you think that just because that's not there, now what?
Oh, it wasn't at all.
No,
but
I
mean, but it made it much more trippy world when you took that away. Coming from my perspective, you know, as a little kid that just was like, this is how it was, and I was like, that's really cool. That I was like, but wait a minute.
Now it's all filled with magic.
Right, exactly. That's kind of what happened. It just was like, wait a minute. If there aren't these personified spirits, then what the heck is this? Mm-hmm. But I wasn't really sure. It just put me in a super crazy reality.
Were you an artistic kid?
Yeah, I guess I was. Yeah, I would draw a lot and stuff. I like to dance. That was like, I dreamed of being a dancer when I was a little kid.
I love it because the things you're saying actually strike me as very right-brained. So it just it comes off that way, which is awesome. And the dancing, of course, makes sense.
Yeah, I always wanted to be a dancer. I was super into Gene Kelly and Baryshnikov and Sid Charisse.
You were serious.
Yeah, that's how I ended up being a dancer. But I like to dance, though. You know, you see me.
I know. Oh man, we're So, what sign are you, Ayme?
Well, I'm on the cusp of Sagittarius and Scorpio, so November 22nd.
Zing, zing, zing. And then, okay, so this is a question.
Sorry.
No, carry on.
You sure?
Yes.
I don't want to interrupt your flow.
No, it's all right.
All right. Isn't that the day that Kennedy was killed?
Yes, it is.
Yeah.
Really?
Not the exact day. I wasn't
day,
born on that exact day.
Right.
But that date.
So you're in the shadow of that. That's interesting.
Yeah.
Did you ever, so of course you don't have to, you know, I mean, everyone knows this. I hope that you don't have to answer these questions. But we are kind of
or whatever.
Curious, you know, and Ayme would. So we're curious about, of course, dreams, which is altered states of consciousness. So we like to ask about psychedelics. Like, have you ever done them? Did you have anything that seemed, you know, like you had moved into a clear altered state of consciousness without that party vibe?
Well, I mean, I've taken things before. I mean, I took like acid a couple times, and I took mushrooms a couple times. But, you know, I find it, because I feel like the times when I felt closer to an altered state or a shift in consciousness, I wasn't on any kind of psychedelic thing. It was more of a shift in my perspective, maybe.
Definitely.
Of the world around me. So, yeah.
So was there anything actually more significant, or was it just, it seems more like it was just kind of almost, the way you describe it sounds like there were just rather mundane, nothing like life altering or
well, there's a few, I mean, sort of mundane, yeah. I mean, it's kind of hard to say. There's a couple that could have been life altering, it felt like. So I don't know. I mentioned, or Jerry just mentioned that I studied with a guy named Kelan Phil Cohran, who just passed away. He was he used to play with Sun Ra and was very into the mystical arts and astrology and astronomy and all this cool stuff. And I studied with him for a while. I should probably say something about him, because he's just he's a spiritual master, a master musician. He was teaching me voice at the time. And I remember after one of his lessons, I went outside and it was like I looked at the sky and it felt like I was just in another place, like the way the clouds were moving in the trees and everything. I could feel this altered state of consciousness. It was almost like everything was more electric. And it's kind of hard to explain. It's almost like, you know, I want to say it doesn't really feel like a shadow. It's almost like a mirror world. What I was seeing that day was pretty like bright.
It's almost like you get
And I had
a new clarity to your vision. That's the way
it's
I
like
looked at it.
Yeah. I mean, I've had other situations. I remember my sister would probably remember this. I have no idea where we were, but we were at some show. I don't know whose show it was. And I was with my sister and her friends, and like I didn't drink or anything at the time. And I remember for some reason I just completely I was hit with this crazy feeling that just made me start crying, and I couldn't stop. But I was just feeling like all these people, this is going to sound crazy, but you know, I felt all the love and all the people, you know, even though they could have been fighting. It was like this feeling like, oh my gosh, they don't even know this is here. This like immense, like powerful love. And I just could not stop crying. And my sister was like, are you okay? Are you okay? Are you okay? And I was like, I'm fine, man. It's like, yeah.
It does not sound crazy though. We do crazy, by the way. So.
Oh, good. I mean, that was like, yeah, that was another one. But I mean, there's like a few, but I also remember at the same time I was studying with Kelan, and it was during that period in time. And it was really bizarre because Kelan had mentioned that he just, I don't know, he thought it was some kind of special, I don't know. He like when we first started studying together, he read my chart and he's like, if you are who I think you are, this is going to be a very interesting experience or whatever. Like he was very intense, right?
Oh, wow.
But then he had asked me if I giggle, but you know, he was like, do you levitate?
Oh.
And I was like, no, Kelan, what are you talking about? You know? And, but anyway, so he was very intense. So all this stuff and his teachings were very powerful. And it was really just music. Not that I really even feel that way about music. I shouldn't put it just in front of music because it's so powerful for me. But at that very same time, I recall walking on the beach in Evanston and like this crow came flying directly like right at, it was like this huge thunderstorm. This crow was like flying directly at my face and I completely freaked out. And I don't know. It just felt like it was tearing a hole in reality. And mind you, I wasn't on anything and I was like not drinking or anything. But I felt like whatever that, like if I let something happen at that moment, I wouldn't have been able to handle it.
I read an article this week about crows that that scientists, of course, quote unquote scientists, have discovered that they create or form and hold grudges against humans.
That's interesting.
And that makes a lot of sense. I mean, I've had some crow experience and have saved a few babies. And that makes sense to me. They seem to have long memories. Like I noticed the babies I saved come back.
Wow.
But also we know their association with the unseen world and the shadow world as well. I like that you were able to be in that you're able to be that open as to allow yourself these kinds of visions or interpretations of what's going on around you. That's already, again, this seems very right brain to me. Which is juicy. Do you have what kind of dream recall do you have on the regular, just as a general?
Well, these days it's not as good as it's getting better again. Strange reason that I don't have very good memory recall these days. It's because my lovely magical kitties like to wake me up at like 3 a.m, 4 a.m, 5 a.m. So there's a lot of like weird waking up that I have to deal with some little creature like meowing at me or biting my feet. So, but before that, I had pretty detailed memory recall.
So in most of your life, it's been like that.
I think so. Yeah, I've had some really intense dreams that led me very cool places. Because when you asked me to do this, I was like, dreams? What do I have to say about that? I'm like, what am I talking about? I've had some crazy, very transformative dreams in my life for sure.
It's funny how many people, when we approach them about this, they think, you know, oh, I have nothing to talk about. But then they get on and they're chatty as hell, you know?
I know, right? Because we all actually have this experience. And then plus our show, we go into more of the esoteric too. What do you think's happening and all that? So, okay, so give us an idea of the dream landscape for you. Do you have color experiences, black and white, both? Is there, glyphs? Are you able to read in dreams? Tell us about how you dream.
Well, I mean, I think I've had both. I mean, I have, some of those movie dreams,
Mm-hmm.
that they could be, well, this part was in black and white and it was like, and then the other part was in color. And then, but I think I generally dream in color.
Mm-hmm.
Sometimes like earlier, probably, when I was in my early 20s, mid 20s, something like that. I had really very symbolic dreams, very like with all sorts of what would you say, like almost mythic stories embedded in them. Like I recall having one about just one part of the dream. I can't quite remember the rest of it, but where this person was uncovering like a you call it like a disembodied head. Ooh. That was buried. I know it sounds crazy, but yeah.
Can you give us a little more of that dream that you do recall?
I wish I could. That particular one, I can't remember. I'm sure I have it written down somewhere. But when I looked it up later, I mean, it's like a classic myth, and I wish I could tell you more about it right now. But when I had the dream, I had no idea about that. Gosh, that's like a classic myth. It's the myth of the whatever, Mm-hmm. Somebody's gonna write in and tell you, oh, it's the myth of the blah blah blah. But yeah, I can't remember that one. Although I did have one epic dream that I could tell you more.
Bring it on.
I suppose. There was a time when I feel like I was having a lot of issues with people outside myself, and a very kind of a traumatic and trying social time. Like I believe I was breaking up with a boyfriend, and then there was weird people around me, and then I was having trouble with my band, and I was having trouble. It was just like everything was just kind of insane and chaotic. And I had this dream that I'm not sure the order of it entirely right now, but I was there was these vampires that were chasing me, and I had to get away from the vampires. And I was trying to seek out a way to escape them. And I went to my friend, Nat, and asked him. He used to work, in reality, he worked at the Carl Jung bookstore in Evanston.
That's
the Carl
awesome.
Jung Center. So in my dream, I went there and I said, Nat, what book? I have these vampires chasing me. I need a book about Carl Jung I just whatever you recommend. He's like, well, this one definitely will help you. So I took it, and that was part of the dream. Then it skipped, I believe. This is many years ago, so it's hard for me to remember, but it was very powerful. I was in front of a house, and I was picking out stones from the front of the house. And then I found one, I got entrance to the house, and it was Carl Jung's house. And
Wow.
I was trying to find him. And it was funny because, like, after this happened, like, there was supposed to be a solution in there somewhere, right? And then when I woke up, I went to ask my friend Nat. I was like, "Hey, Nat, recommend any Carl Jung book to me. What's your favorite?" And he's like, "Well, it really depends on what you're looking for." I'm like, "No, what do you think I should read?" And then he gave me this book called Memories, Dreams, and Reflections.
Yes, a great book.
Yeah, and the very opening chapter, it's talking about soul stones and the power where you put part of your soul. It's like reflects a precious part of yourself. Because I may not be explaining this that well. I knew a lot more before, but you put it in the stone, and it protects that part of your self.
Mm-hmm.
And it was just the stones and Carl Jung, and it was just like right there. Like that whole book changed like this whole part of my life and gave me.
How old were you when this happened?
I think I was like 24, 25. Yeah, around 24, 25. I think so.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember.
Yeah, I mean, that's significant. Very significant. I like that you were searching also to understand the language of dreams at this point, because the imagery is so powerful. Some people just shutter it off. So
Yeah, well, it was interesting because at the time I kept having these really intense dreams, and I didn't really know about Carl Jung. And then my dream led me to him and his theories, and then I read all these books, and I was like, "Oh my God, the master of dreams!" Well,
holy cow. Okay, I didn't realize that was your introduction to Jung. Wow, that's extreme.
yeah. I mean, I knew
Maybe.
of him, but
Yeah, but that's still that's extra juicy. Do you, okay, so following this line, do you have lucid dreams? Do you even have a distinction between your dreams and then lucidity within them?
um, I feel like I've had a couple that felt very lucid, but not that many. It's like something that I've been recently talking to a friend about that. Trying to practice getting closer to doing that, like practice being in your dreams, if you know what I'm saying.
I
Trying to be
do.
more
I
more
just don't, I
lucid.
don't know, like, so in your experience of the couple you think you've had, I was actually kind of surprised to hear that, because it seems like you would be someone that would be having lots of lucidity from what you've given us so far. So in these couple experiences, was there anything that triggered it, or how did you get to the point where you felt like, wow, I'm dreaming, being awake within it?
I don't know. It was weird. It was the feeling. I don't know if, yeah, it's weird. I guess there's one in particular. It was a trying to move dream. It was really hard though. Like I felt like, ask me, what was the question again so I can answer it more directly?
What was, how did you realize that you were dreaming within the dream? How did you find this sense of lucidity?
Well, I don't know. I mean, I guess it was just kind of it's funny when talking about this, it calls up all these different experiences. And of course it's the dream world, so they're all foggy.
Oh yeah.
I've had ones where it was just very basic, and it was just like, well, this is just a dream, so, and I'm just casual about it. That kind of like, yeah, well, whatever. This is a dream and I'm in it and whatever. I've had ones like that, but then I've had the other ones where I could feel more like I was trying to be conscious in the dream and making myself do something.
Those, and that's in particular what that's what I'm asking about, those where you're feeling conscious in them and then asserting your will within it.
And you're asking how? I don't know, honestly.
Well, not necessarily how. I just wanted your experience of what was going on. So
So
tell us about an experience, if you may.
this particular one, after I had told people this dream, people were like, I think you were actually abducted by aliens. That was
Oh, you're in the right room. We do woo.
So this one, I was actually in where was I? Like Northern California. Yeah, I forgot. Like near San Francisco. I forget the name of the place. But anyway, I was staying with a friend of mine, sleeping on the couch, and I was kind of in a bad time there. It was kind of intense and weird. But anyway, this friend of mine was living with his mom, and I was sleeping on the couch, and in the dream, I woke up on the couch and there was like this bright light behind me, and I couldn't move at all. And I could I could see this like lady coming down the stairs. Like she was dressed like Betty Draper, like a 50s housewife, June Cleaver kind of, like you didn't see her face, but like I knew it was like bad, that lady, no, and I was paralyzed and I kept trying to move my arm and I was like, stop, get out, get out, get out. I just remember like throwing this pillow at this lady to get her to go away. And I think I actually succeeded, but I couldn't speak and I couldn't move, but I was trying so hard to do it. And it just felt like, to me, that dream was so visceral, I guess. Like I could feel myself and the dream at the same time. And I felt like I saved myself from the alien 50s housewife lady, but maybe I was abducted. I don't really know. So was it a dream or was it reality?
Well, okay, so I want to talk about this for a minute. So when you woke up from this, what was the mood? What was your immediate feeling of it? Were you afraid?
Yeah.
Sounds scary. Yeah.
Yeah, it was horribly scary. Yeah. It was like that lady was gonna I did not want to see that lady. She was not good. And I mean, like on the alien level, it's like, okay, maybe I was abducted by aliens, but on another level, this guy whose house I was staying with, I was very young. I think it was like 17, maybe 18 or something, and I was like madly in love with him. I'm putting quotes around that, but he just had no interest in me.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, it's kind of one of those stupid relationships that happens when you're 17.
Oh yeah, hearts for eyes. I know.
Right, and I think about the guy now, and I hope he's listening. But he's
I have a question.
Like, what was my problem? I was a lunatic.
Can I
ask?
That's to your credit.
So in my life, that was what was going on. This like kind of tormenting weirdness. But
I have a question, actually.
Yes.
Did anyone else in that household have any kind of experiences like that on a regular basis or that night?
No, I don't think so. Although I think his mom was could have been into that. And he could have been into that kind of stuff too, like being close to dreams and stuff. Both of them could have been. Although that
the
day,
abduction thing.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, was there any kind of chatter like that around them in general? Any like ET stuff, ufology stuff?
We could look into that deeper later. I was just curious.
Well, that's actually really valid for this,
right.
Because then that would be front loading before she went into sleep.
Right. No, I don't remember speaking of it at all before. No.
Okay.
If that's what you're asking. No, we weren't talking about that. I don't think I really talked about aliens with this guy very much ever.
Yeah, so that's even more
maybe I did.
significant. But isn't it, Jerry? I mean, this is that's like I hate to use this word, but it's kind of the virginal experience. Like you weren't front loaded with these people in this environment, and then you have this experience that is, borders on, that is creepy and scary, involves paralysis, which is classic OBE stuff.
Right.
And on that note, have you had...
Go ahead.
Well, let me finish the thing, because like what I was seeing in that dream moment. But you guys don't forget what you're about to say, because we're like transitioning. But before we transition,
well, we don't have to transition. That was just me carrying on.
And
that's
I take copious notes.
Oh, okay.
And I take copious notes, so not to worry.
Jerry's on top of this. Trust me.
Good. So, but what I was seeing in it after I woke up, if I was not actually abducted by aliens, what I was seeing was the realization that this dude was like he was actually lame. Like, I don't want to be that. Do not let me be that 50s house. I don't want to be June Cleaver. I don't want to be like making dinner for this guy. Like, that would be a paralyzing experience, and she's trying to capture me because, like that image of like June Cleaver was like, I was like coming to get me because I was like in love with this kind of dumb guy.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I don't want that. I don't even want that, but I was paralyzed by it. But I said no, and
when that's rich psychologically, that would certainly fit the bill.
Mm-hmm.
Especially at 17, to be processing that.
I'm hearing Stevie Nicks right now in my head.
Yay! I'm wearing fringe, but is that a
wait? What, Stevie? Oh,
so. So I want to actually talk about, instead of OBEs, that reminded me about like nightmares and night terrors. So are these the kinds, when one says nightmares and night terrors to you, is this the kind of experience you're talking about? Or have you had like full on horrific, gruesome stuff go on?
I really haven't. I haven't had, like night terrors. I have not had very many nightmares. My nightmares are kind of, I don't remember having too many like super intense nightmares. That was probably one of the most intense things that I recall at this time right now. But I mean, I do feel like I had a dream probably maybe a little before that, where I could, it was like more like an out of body experience. Yeah. Because in the dream, like, I feel like I was like, I could hear these footsteps, and I would like walking around. They were going all these places, like walking through a pool and then walking somewhere. And then all of a sudden I felt this thing like come into my body, but it was like myself. And I was like, I don't like that feeling. I didn't like that at all, but it definitely felt like when people say OB, out of body experience, or that.
So you associated that with you coming into your body?
Yeah, I felt like I was walking around somewhere else, and then I came back. Like the footsteps were actually me. It's like, I don't like that.
Oh, that's interesting.
That's another very intense one that I had. But I mean, and to me, like when I think about dreaming, and like right now, I've read a lot of Carlos Castaneda. I was just recently started reading The Art of Dreaming, but they talk about these other worlds that you can access, and you have to be careful, and all the different energies that are found in dreams, especially when you start lucid dreaming. And when I think of like a dream, like the one where it felt like I was coming back into my body, it's almost like, because I was younger, it's like the openness to any kind of experience. It was like those abilities are within all of us, and I probably had it and was doing it, and then it scared the crap out of me, and I didn't want anything to do with it. Like the crow coming to me, I'm like, I can't deal with this right now. Like, I do not have the faculty to deal with this right now,
Mm-hmm.
you know? So that's why it was terrifying, like wandering around without having the wisdom and the knowledge to know what to do with that ability, I guess. I don't know. It's just a way of looking at it, I guess.
Do you experience like things like audible stuff and other senses like smell and tactile, like touch?
Yeah, I do think, I don't know about smell. It's hard to say. I've definitely felt things in my dreams for sure.
Yeah, like the emotional stuff, which.
Oh no, I mean like with my fingers, like, yeah.
Okay, I needed clarity on that. Okay, that's good. Do you have any experiences of that, like you could share that you recall?
Not off the top of my head. I mean, I just remember like things like, they're more like little kid experiences of like finding a really precious button or jewelry that I could feel and touch, you know, and I thought it was so beautiful, and I woke up and wanted it to still be there, and it wasn't there.
Oh, I love that so much. That I think you're the first person we've talked to that's brought that into the conversation. Anyway, thank you. That's great.
Oh.
It seems to be rare, as you know, these other senses. Do you at all sleepwalk or talk that you know of?
Well, I don't sleepwalk. I feel like people have said I sleep talk. I'm
That
laughing.
sounds sorted.
No, it's not so bad. I've done these things where I was kind of like, I definitely had to have been sleeping, but I only do it to my sister. It's really sad. My younger sister, a couple times I've done this to her. I'll just like, because we slept in the same room, and when we were little, and I did it once when we were little, and then once, and I'll explain. But once when we were like, our car broke down when we were at some creepy hotel. But the thing that I do is, I'll, in quotes, wake up, but I'm not really awake. I'll be like, I'll bolt up in bed and I'll be like, Lisa, is there somebody out there? Lisa? Like, and I freak out. And so I scare the crap out of my sister. She's like, what is it? What? And like, I'll be like so intense. It happened like a couple times, my poor sister, but I'm really intense about it. And then I'm like, then I kind of come back to reality. I realize that that's not happening, you know?
I'm fascinated by that. And I hope Jerry's got a note going on that. I don't know what that's called, but we need to know what that's called, because I have had that experience myself.
I was chatting. I missed it. What am I noting?
This experience where it's like you're deep in a dream, but you come out, you're talking, you're bringing something back, or you're like animated, but you're there and you're not there. I don't know how to describe it. And Ayme just described it.
You're basically like you're externalizing the dream back into reality. One-sidedly.
Talking, like when you roll back through this and listen,
yeah,
it's like the thing was actually there.
Yeah, that's what I'm talking about. It's real, but it's also not. And so there's got to be a name for it. And if anyone in the chat knows what that's called, please let us know. I'm not looking at the chat.
So it's almost
the
like
context is that I'm always with my family, so I don't know why that is. Whenever this happens, it happened once with my mom too.
Well, it's an interesting dynamic, no matter what the context is, because there's something about, I can see like religious people calling it a possession. I can just see, I know there's a name for this. I want to get into that some other point, some other time.
I've written it down as the funky dream thing. So when you hear that, we know what it relates to.
And also, if anyone in the chat that was listening, let us know, drop a bomb on us. Because that intrigues me to no end.
Greatest Potential said he was asking if it's a hypnagogic state. Is that what you're looking for?
Are Are you asking me? I'm not sure. I
I
don't
was
know.
asking Nish. She said if anyone.
I don't know if that's if that completely covers what the experience is.
It just seems like you're sitting on. I would call that the liminal state. You're in between dimensions or whatever. You're between dreams and reality. And
but it's different because it's still different than that.
Okay.
It's different than the liminal state for sure. I don't know. We'll get into that. We'll figure that out, and we're gonna add that to the roster. Do you experience deja vus at all, Ayme?
Yes. Yeah, I have.
Will you tell us about your deja vu experiences? Not necessarily the hardcore experiences, but what you think they are and what it's tied into, maybe.
That's interesting. I mean, I don't know if I've explored it that much in my mind. I mean, but like when you just said it, it kind of feels like you're hitting that point where two dimensions diverge. That sounds great. But I mean, like, you're hitting this like little glitch where you see that moment of like two different realities existing parallel but not exactly lined up. It's like, what is this? I was here before.
Have you ever been able to pinpoint when you're having a deja vu or later upon thinking about it, reviewing it, what it came from, it's that whole sense of it's happened before, have you been able to pinpoint a source for it, where it tied back to?
You mean when you're having it, like how long from one moment to one moment, how long it lasts? Or
no, like, whoa, man, I've been here before, deja vu. And so, well, when were you here before? Or so I'm trying to get, without asking directly, your idea of what it is. Like, so do you think it's like maybe tied to past life? Do you think it's precognition? Has it been tied to dreams you've had in the past?
It's interesting because you were talking earlier. It often seems like it is something fairly mundane that those things happen in, and it's almost like, I don't know. To me, maybe it feels sort of like getting ahead. There's a part of us that gets ahead of our reality. Sort of like I do this all the time when I'm typing. I type too fast, and the words are jumbled up, so that there's like whatever
words missing from your sentences.
When I'm typing, like if I type that, it might be HTAT because I was like too fast. My brain was too fast, and it went ahead of the rest of the word. My fingers went ahead of the rest of the word. It's almost like this part of us jumps. It's moving too fast, and it goes like just past where we actually are. Somehow.
No, I do the same thing. I'll drop words from sentences because I think faster than I type.
Right. So I'm thinking like maybe one part of us is moving faster. Like you said, the cognitive part of us is moving faster than the reality we're living in or something.
Or it's almost like they're not synced up because time is just an illusion to us. And maybe one part of our structure is synced up with one timeline, if you want to call it that. I don't want to call it timeline, but one clock.
Right. Yeah. I get that for sure because I guess I don't really know. I don't know what they are, but that's a theory that we're kind of, part of us is moving faster.
That's
into it.
That's interesting, and it certainly, I can see that in my head, that mechanism. Do you, so on this though, so on states of dreaming and altered states of consciousness, now this is the part where we can really just allow ourselves to ride the vibe, man. And
yeah.
So what do you think is going on with the altered state of consciousness that we call that when we sleep, when we're dreaming, what's going on?
It's interesting because I feel like I'm hearing a really weird noise. Are any of you making a really weird noise?
No.
I'm completely muted.
Hold on one second.
It's the AI trying to derail our show.
Oh, my
Always
my
want to get to the
kitty's
good
getting
stuff.
sick. That's so sad.
Oh, no.
My magical kitties. They're my magical kitties. They're my familiars. Aw. Poor kitty. You know what's wrong with him? He distracted me. He's like, "Don't talk about this, Mommy. You can't tell the secrets."
We want the woo, though. We want it.
Okay, let me focus here.
Yeah, what was the question again?
Yeah, I know, please.
What do
He's
you-
making a horrible noise. He's okay now.
Is he okay? Everything's good?
Yeah.
All
I
right.
think so.
Because I understand if you have to take care of him. It's your baby.
No, I think he was just.
So what do you think is going on besides, okay, so let me stage this differently. So besides the filing of our mental stuff that goes on in our unconscious when we're in layers of sleep and dreaming and all of that, and when we start getting into the stranger stuff that sticks out and possibly the lucid stuff and the OBEs and the more mysterious, deeper content, what do you think that is?
Well, I mean, there's so many different layers of it. I mean, but I've always looked at my dreams as guides. Like, for example, usually I can have a few dreams on the same theme, sort of lightly playing around something, and I'm ignoring, and then all of a sudden I'll have a really intense dream that will wake me up, and then it's like, you better start looking at this, and here's the symbols that are going to make you pay attention, because if you don't, you're going to go down the wrong path. That's like, it feels like that's where my guides live, and that's like one level. That's the way. It's like it tells us the mysteries that are going around, the hidden stuff of our brain. I mean, people call it the unconscious, but I feel like it's not just a bunch of stuff sitting there. It's like there are guides within that. It's like there's a part of us that lives there that knows a lot more than we're willing to admit.
Wouldn't you refer to that as your higher self, though, or some aspect of yourself?
I mean, I could do that. Yeah. I mean, it is like a higher aspect of yourself, but it doesn't speak in the same language as we do, when we speak to each other. There's no niceties there.
Right. Because there's no ego.
Right. It's like divorced from our, regular rules,
But maybe that's the type of influence you need when you're dreaming.
Mm-hmm.
Maybe a babysitter of sorts.
How is that any different though when you're grasping memories and say, let's go distant, like your early memories and maybe early memories of learning something, or where you're challenged, or where you got hurt, so some traumatic memories even are better to grasp back at distant. How is that any different than
dreams?
Yes. How's that any when in your recall? What's the difference in that state? Is there a difference?
So like, you mean like, okay, like when I learn from things in one is like just learning from things in my past. Like, okay, here, I think, let me clarify first. One to me is like, if I'm looking back in my past and be like, oh yeah, when I was a little kid, I probably shouldn't have ridden my bike in the middle of the night because I crashed it. Is this kind of what you're getting at? And then that's one lesson. And then the lessons in your dream.
No, it's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is how, so if you pull up a memory,
like in your
how
dreams,
tangible can that memory get? Is the memory a memory of something that happened in your waking life? How, it's not it doesn't seem to be any more tangible than memories of very vivid dreams. There's some sort of crossover there where how can you tell one from the other? And there's studies with people on, the death and dying studies where they've totally confused all the states of being and are in that weird, sometimes it overlaps into dementia because they're confusing the state of the now in the memories and then dreams. And so it all gets convoluted in a way. And so I'm trying to parse out and figure out what are the actual differences.
Right. I mean, like I mean, when I think about like memories and they all get foggy, like, if you ever talk with family members or friends, everybody remembers something different. So there are foggy like
Absolutely.
dreams. But they're also like more okay. They're more, I feel like the way they get foggy is closer to what we want to see and remember, like more closer to how we feel like seeing the world, whereas our dreams are less guided by our conscious choices. Like our dreams are like coming out there and telling us information that was hitherto unknown to us, really.
Mm-hmm.
That's making sense. Like the dream aspect of I almost feel like when I think back at dreams are sometimes more vividly remembered in a weird way.
Yes, I agree. Pardon me. The intense dreams stick out like, chroma, like high chroma on a pale background.
Yeah, they live in our minds, I mean, that's like when it's like when there's a situation in my life where I'm rehearsing. I say the same script all the time. And when I'm doing that, like I notice all these people's clothes that I'm talking to, their clothes, their hair, their makeup, like how they hold themselves, because I have this rehearsed script and I don't think about it. So I remember all these little details, of the person I'm looking at. But like when we're in an experience, the details get foggy because we're engaged in the conversation and the meeting of the minds and the experience, so that all the details get foggy.
Mm-hmm.
But our dreams, they're just pure images in our mind, if that makes sense. So they end up staying this almost more the same and more concrete. They're more vivid, I guess, because when you have those memories of a particular event, it's more of a feeling in a sense than is that even making sense?
It is. And it also reminds me that I wonder, so if I actually forgot to ask this, in your dreams, so back to dreaming a little here, have you experienced what seemed to be others in the dream that didn't feel like they were just parts of your varied personality, that they had, a sense of animation onto themselves that you had no control over? Besides the weird 50s housewife, because that I think fits the bill, actually.
Yeah,
that fits the bill in a scary way.
Right. It's hard to say. I can't remember any right now off the top of my head. But I mean, there's those situations where you have a dream and it's like you'll be at a party or whatever, and you'll be like, well, you were there, but you were represented by, Molly Ringwald or whatever. Mm-hmm. Like it was Molly Ringwald, but it was really you. You know,
Right.
it was really that person, you know.
Yeah.
And then there's the other there's I'm trying to figure out how to express this, but so sometimes you know it's somebody and they're represented as another person. I don't think I'm explaining this correctly. Let me think
I
about this.
understand.
This is a hard
You
hard
know,
language to talk in, huh?
I understand. You know that it's somebody that you know, but you don't know who it is, but it has that energy of that person.
Right. And I think in another like when people speak of dreams, they say like, oh, well, every single person is not necessarily that person, but it's part of you. I think this is where I'm getting at. Like, you know, if it's like, oh, well, you know, it was my science teacher. That's really representing the part of me that I associate it with what that science teacher represents, you know?
Yes.
If you're
And
see what I'm
that's
saying.
totally Jungian to
But
associate it like that.
I've also had situations where it's like, no, that yeah, I guess this is kind of what you're asking, where it's like, no, that wasn't a part of me. That was actually that person. That wasn't. Yeah, I guess maybe I have had that experience. I'm sorry, I'm trying to figure it out, but I don't have any concrete
It's hard to speak concretely about something etheric. It really is. Have you had prophetic dreams or dreaming true, where you have had the dream and then at some point down the line things played out, even though the symbols can be crazy, but then you see the mundane symbols in what we call our real waking life, and then the wild symbols of the dream.
I have.
Give us an example.
I've had good ones and bad ones, you know, just the good one, I mean, well, sad ones, I guess you could say. You know, the good ones are just like, you know, some person that I had a crush on or something would be in my dream, like I never thought anything would go on with. And then, you know, I'd have dreams that we were laying next to each other or holding hands or something or whatever, continuous, and then it manifested in life. You know, that's just kind of a simple, sweet one. But
I love the sweet stuff.
But
I'll take all the honey life has to offer.
That's happened to me more than once. But then there's the, you know, the ones where someone comes to talk to you in your dream, you know, like my grandfather, you know, like coming to see me and then talking to me. It was very vivid and intense. And that actually, those ones felt like, oh, that's really grandpa right there. And it was when he was dying or when he was already gone.
Like
and
shortly after?
It was like probably like the night he died that happened.
Oh, do you mind telling us about it?
It's hard to remember what the dream was. I just know that he was there and he came to talk to me in my dream, like just to. And that particular grandpa that this happened with, it was, he was very, very close to me. I actually sent him a soul stone to protect me when I was going through a really hard time. But
do you recall any knowledge or wisdom he imparted upon you
in the dream?
Yeah.
I can't remember.
Well, it made an impression.
It
so that's
felt like
one thing.
It felt like he was coming to tell me that he was still protecting me. You know,
because just the fact that he showed up is impactful on your psyche.
Yes, very.
Just the fact that you even remember it and it was that powerful that you don't remember what was said. I don't know if that even matters per se in this instance.
But it lines up because if this was the night he died.
Yeah, that happened to my mother and my father's dad when he died. He showed up in her dream.
Yeah, I have had this experience too. Yeah, this is what I find. These bonds we have are just so amazing. They never cease to amaze me.
I have a theory on that, which we'll talk about after the show.
Oh yeah, it'll be juicy. Make a note on that, Chair.
Already did.
So we are at the 1 hour mark. So this is the point where we open up questions to the chat and see if anyone has anything
I asked
to ask
before.
you. What do you got?
All right, we have. I did not go back ahead of time. John Wolf asks. No, sorry. Suzanne asked. Okay, this was this first one. Was Ayme, were you ever afraid of your closet or under your bed when you were young? Do you have irrational fears?
It's weird. I don't remember being terrified or anything, but I do recall not liking this one little cubby hole that was like above the closet. But I don't remember. I don't really feel like I was terrified. I'm trying to think. The only place I can think of is that little cubby hole. There's like this little thing above the closet, but I don't really think anything was gonna come get me or anything.
Okay. Greatest Potential, welcome back, asks, as a musician, what's the instrument of your choice?
Oh, guitar. Yeah.
6, 12.
I sing too. I feel like the voice has incredible power. And I have yet to feel like I've accessed it, but you know.
All right. Now, now we get to John Wolf's question. Have you ever felt as if any of the other people in your dream were actually autonomous dream images? Replays.
Wow.
That's a good question.
That's a tough question.
That's something you pay attention to.
Well, you know, like I mentioned that one that seemed like it was, it definitely felt like it was part of the collective unconscious that like it felt more like a story, like they were, like it was there to instruct, like it was like this person that had buried this head.
Like a non-player character in a game? Giving you the backstory?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. It was like it didn't. Sorry to explain, but yeah, I mean, it felt like it was outside of me. That was another one, like that person, that story. It was like I was viewing a parable of this guy burying the head of whoever it was that I can't recall. Does that make sense?
Yeah, totally. I have a question. This is my question that I just thought of, because have you ever done any ritual magic?
Actually, I have. I've done a couple little, but they were just personal, not like really necessarily rooted in any sort of
particular
tradition. Yeah, like I didn't have like a rule, like any guide or anything. I recall trying to separate a bond from someone and burning. I've done this a few times, burning letters and things and kind of going through a ritual of my own. And
I have one of them.
And oftentimes there's like one thing that doesn't burn, and it's a very important set of words
you haven't cleared it out yet enough to burn it. That's why. Well, that just brought up another question to me, was, did any of the weirder dreams happen in or around the time you did those operations?
Yes, actually. I thought, I actually know there's a person that I did a very strong kind of personal ritual with. We were supposed to get married at one point, and we didn't, but I did this, like I picked out all these like symbolic rocks, different like stones that had different powers, like and I did a lot of research, and we had our own ceremony with those rocks and candles and everything, and somehow I still feel bonded to this person.
It sounds lovely.
You may have, yeah. You just
like I was like, oh well, we got married anyway, kind of, but in like a more almost a more powerful way,
Yeah, well, intent is what all it takes,
right? Yeah. And then adding all the stones would just increase the energy around the whole thing, and you're going to have like a really strong bond. You need a witch doctor. Okay, sorry to digress. Okay, so Omar asks, who built the road painted with... Is this a question? No.
It's a riddle.
No, he types everything in uppercase.
I do have to say, though, about that ritual magic, I
Yeah.
do not, because I don't have a guide or anyone. I don't like opening up all those doors without knowing how to close them. So I don't really, I haven't really dabbled that much in that world because of those reasons,
Sure.
opening up doors without the experience or knowledge to close them.
Well, a lot of...
You know what I mean?
Sure, and a lot of activities that you can do, a lot of operations you can do are more broadcast only versus bi-directional, if that makes any sense.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I would consider what you did, rocks, candles, intent, energy of the union is just a broadcast. I wouldn't worry about that. Anyway, John Wolf, we have another question here. Have you ever flown in your dream?
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that's a normal one. I haven't done it in a while.
So how do you fly?
Do that tonight.
How do you fly?
I was just thinking that. Sorry.
It's hard to say. I feel like it's hard to see what I'm not like flapping my arms or anything. It's more like just floating around.
Mm-hmm.
But I do feel like I've had more like, it's like you're going on a tour in like a little hang glider. That's what it seems like. Like I can't see myself.
Right.
I'm just seeing the world in a way as if I were on a hang glider.
Yeah, because you're behind the eyes.
Yeah, exactly. Then, of course, the traditional falling dream. Yes, I've had that one.
Did you hit?
No, but I have had ones that I actually had died in my dream. Like somebody shot me. And then somebody shot me and I was dead. And then I was going into this elevator with this elevator conductor, and he had blood all over him, and he was like, going down.
Oh my God. That's ridiculous. It's so stereotypical.
And I was like, I don't want to go here.
Next, the crypt keeper pops out. Wow, Ayme.
Okay. So
how cliche.
I believe that's all. Yeah, we just asked that, John. I asked if there was any more questions. She just answered, John. It was a yes. Yes, or have you ever seen any blue avians in your dream?
Yeah. Are you even aware of all that? I don't think Ayme is.
No, probably not.
No,
she's
I
normal.
don't know about blue avians. I know about the blue angels, but I didn't see them.
No.
She's not front loaded with any of that stuff.
You're a muggle. You wouldn't know these things.
No, girl, it's a good thing.
Yeah,
Ayme, in this case, it's a good thing.
Totally, because it's mind control. Anyway, that's the show for tonight, everybody. Thank you so much for watching. I forgot who we have next week, but it's probably somebody very cool. Be sure to tune in.
Somebody awesome, yes.
And I'll look. Hold on.
And Ayme, stay on because we do our after
don't
show
go
with
away.
you.
Lest you miss out on the best part. Next week, Robert Phoenix next week.
Ooh, that's
Wait,
exciting.
that's in 2 weeks. We have somebody else.
I don't know, Jerry. You're the king of the calendar.
I always forget to look this up. Yvonne is next week. Yvonne
my
Palermo,
God, yes.
Ruby Bean.
God, it seems like forever.
Yes. So next week we'll have Yvonne Palermo from Ruby Bean. And that's about it, right? All right.
Yes. Thank you, Ayme, and everyone in the chat.
Thanks for having me. Thanks for talking to me and all you people out there in the listening public.
Yeah, thanks to everyone listening, and be sure to hit the like button and tell all your friends or non-friends. Come check it out. So, take care.